Hello, and welcome to Awakening with Adam. I'm your host, Adam. And today, before we get into things, I just want to say thank you so much to all the creators that I shouted out in my last video who replied or sent me lovely messages or even shouted me out on their channels. That was completely unexpected, but very kind. And it's nice to know how wholesome this whole community is. So thank you. I'm glad to be a part of it. And you guys are awesome. And everyone that did that, I'm going to leave your links down below. So if you haven't checked them out, please go check them out if you're watching this video. Also, part 2 of the introduction, I just watched the Next Level Soul podcast, where some of the Ascended Masters, Jesus, Buddha, Archangel Michael, and Yogananda were channeled through Genevieve. Awesome episode. And what I like about it is while I was watching it, you could really feel the energy coming through the screen. And I actually teared up at Yogananda at the end because I've read his book and it is pretty epic. If you haven't read it, definitely go check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. But yes, those links are in the description. And today, part 3 of introduction, we're going to be talking about fear. As you can see from the title, fear is a freak. Wincy. So essentially the concept is, and before I go on, thank you to the viewer that asked me to discuss this topic in the previous comment section of the previous video. This is for you, so thank you so much. And for all of you watching this video, if there's a topic you'd like me to cover, leave a comment down below. So, let's get back to it. Fear is a frequency. What do I mean? Well, the state of being fearful is a self-perpetuating state. And it is what we call a lower vibrational state. And it actually just stems from our survival mechanisms, our lizard brain, if you will. And so where fear was intended for us to, say, not walk on those iffy rocks, those crumbling cliff sides, or not to try to disturb the sleeping beast while we're out on the hunt type of thing, actual survival instincts and needs for us to continue our life journey. Nowadays, fear can come from basically anywhere. You can watch something on the internet or read a news headline and experience fear. And it's these outside stressors and this anxiety that keep many people in our world today in a constant state of fear, thinking that their survival is tied to if this person or that person gets this position or that position, if this country does this thing. A lot of it in the media. And they do it because that makes their company, their corporation, sustainable. Because essentially they've generated a perpetual money machine. Because if you're afraid of what the news might say, you're going to continue to watch the news. Because you need to know if they say that thing that you're afraid of. Because you believe that somehow you are then going to need to do something. When in actuality, it's all out of your control anyways. But we don't need to deep dive that. All I'm saying is fear comes from many different places, especially in our modern society where information of any kind can flow from here to there. Just like in the last video, I was talking about how amazing the internet is, that we're all connected. It's a 2-lane highway. Any information can be shared. Things that make you scared can be shared. And so frequency of fear is this state where you're constantly looking for what's the next thing that's going to get me. Who's going to come around the corner? It's no more tigers or an opposing tribe. It's news about an opposing tribe, or financial that might scare us and put us in this fear state, or even cultural. What will they think if I do A, B, or C? I can't have that, right? And so to get out of this frequency, I think it's easier for our mind to understand things if we think about it in terms of the frequency. So if we're in a lower state of frequency, all we need to do is change our frequency. Now, some ways in which you can change your frequency is to express gratitude and appreciation. So if you feel yourself in this like clenched state and you're stressed out, take a moment, breathe, and start to think about all of the good things. Start to think about everything that you have in your life that you're appreciative of. Now, you may need to do this for a few minutes, but what you'll find after those few minutes is that you've loosened your grip, sometimes literally, and your body has relaxed. And that is a telltale sign that you've actually raised your frequency out of the state of fear. Now, my personal favorite method to get out of this fear frequency is to crack jokes, right? There's nothing in this world that a joke can't be told about. Now, I know the human mind goes straight to the nth degree, and we think of the worst possible things, like, you couldn't tell a joke about that. I'm like, well, if you're in the middle of living that situation, that may be what's needed. You may have to get to a point where you can detach yourself from the circumstances such that you can start poking fun. I mean, you're the one living in those circumstances, right? I think that gives you every right to make fun of them, to find the humor in even the darkest of situations. It's like when people have fear of speaking. And what do they tell you to do? Imagine the audience in their underwear. That's pretty funny. That'll get you a little like chuckly and giggly. And what's actually happening to your frequency? You're like, oh, you've completely broken that lower vibrational state. And you're in a higher vibration of whimsical, joyous, a little bit more airy, perhaps. So if you're feeling down, maybe that's the perfect time to watch a comedy. Now, as my suggestion to the viewer in the last video in the comment section was, another great way to break the fear is to simply call on a being of a much higher frequency than your human mind. And those beings are numerous. In fact, I think it's almost all of the beings in our universe are higher frequency than the human mind, especially in its fear state. But I suggested that you simply pray. You pray to God. You pray to the universe. You pray to Spirit or your guides or your angels. Please take this fear from me. Please help me to release this fear. And sit in true, dedicated prayer, sacred time during that prayer for however long it takes. Maybe it's a few minutes, and then you walk away. But when you're in this state of prayer and you're handing over yourself and these things that may feel overwhelming to you to a higher power, to a higher frequency, you'll find that while it may seem at first to your mind like, what the hell is that going to do? You can actually feel like waves on the shore, your energy releasing, your hands unclenching, your body loosening a little bit and relaxing. Because you are always supported. God, the universe, the angels, they're always with you. And they're always conspiring to help you achieve your highest dreams, your highest timeline. And sometimes we're not even thinking about, oh, where do I want to be in 5 years? We're thinking about, how am I going to make it through the next 5 minutes or 5 seconds? And prayer can very easily, when you're dedicated to it, when you're full heart in it, provide that relief and give you that gateway, that portal, that channel to energies that can help you by washing over you and relaxing you. Now, we all know the JFK quote, the only thing to fear is fear itself. And in many ways, he was right, because the state of fear, like I said, is self-perpetuating. It's like the Spider-Man meme, where it's like, is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Because once you start getting fearful of things, you can easily become fearful of everything. And it's a bit of a trap in that way. And so it is helpful to have ways out. Now, another layer to what he's saying is what we need to fear are the ideas, the thoughts, and the concepts that come from us, individually or in group settings, when we are in a state of fear. Because they will be limited. They're capped by the frequency that you're holding in the moment. So if you're in a fear state and you're trying to think your way out, you can only think so high. Your options are limited. Your insight is blocked off. You're literally shutting yourself off from source, God, pure love, where there is no fear. There's allowance and acceptance. And so I think one of the main things that he was actually saying there is, don't be afraid, and definitely don't make decisions from the state of being afraid. And there's another quote about a problem cannot be solved on the same level of consciousness in which it was created. Might have been Einstein. Might be getting that one wrong. I think it was Einstein. But essentially it's the exact same concept. If you're here and you're narrow and you're shut down, or you're simply on just a lower vibrational frequency, you're not able to access the higher levels, the God level information, the spiritual insights. I mean, inspired, the word is literally to be in spirit. Fun etymology fact from Adam. And I think it's nothing to be ashamed of and nothing to feel guilty for, because we've all been in states of fear. And sometimes fear over time can compound and harden within us, and it becomes habits and routines and thought patterns that we keep feeding. Like, oh, that kept us safe, let's keep doing that. But eventually, all of those things, all of those walls that we've put up, like the walls of Jericho, will come down to the higher vibration. Now, I don't want to just get on here and tell you, oh, you just need to pray. Oh, you just need to crack a joke. Because I know how it feels to be in this situation. I know how it feels. And since we're about 15 minutes in, not very many people watch this far into the video. But if you are still watching, I fuck with you. You know what I mean? But I recently had to overcome some fear. That's actually why I sound like this. I'll get to it. I had some fear and I had some attachment to a family member that has been in my life my entire life. And I always had this fear of, I am a terrible person if I don't want them in my life anymore. But I had to come to a place, just recently actually, where I decided I've forgiven. Not forgotten, but I've forgiven. But also, I'm not responsible in this cultural sense anymore. Like, I don't feel that need to continue to keep this person in my life. And so I had to let them know, no minced words, no malice, no hate. I don't want a relationship with you anymore. And we have to go our separate ways. Simple, to the point, and it had to be done. Something I knew had to be done, but I hadn't actually stated. There's a difference between blocking someone in your phone and sending them a message like, we're done. A key difference. Now, if you have to start with blocking, like I did, I understand. And eventually you may get to the point where it's worth stating. And that statement is as much for you as it is for the other person. They get to know where you're at, what you're saying, how you are choosing to end the relationship, and you get to speak your authentic truth, which, from my direct experience, is levels upon levels higher and more satisfying, and pays dividends and rewards yourself, when you actually speak your authentic truth, as opposed to just thinking it or knowing it. And so I spoke my truth. And the next day, I basically came down with like strep symptoms. Like my throat was all jacked up, congestion. You can still probably hear it in my voice, a little raspy. And at first I was like, oh, this is, spiritual warfare. But I did my praying. I did my protection. I was like, oh, it's still here. Interesting. And then I came to realize I had this idea, this intuitive knowledge that, oh, what's happening is this is a transformation. This is a level up for me, for my throat chakra, for my authenticity that I'm expressing. I'm leveling up. I'm releasing all this old gunk, and it has to go somewhere. And the physical body, the physical realm, is a reflection of what's inside. And so I was experiencing, and am still a little bit on the tail end of it, thankfully, these physical manifestations of what's happening on the spiritual, energetic realm. Now, actually, this Next Level Soul podcast that I've got linked down below, one of the things that was talked about is the release of toxins in the human body. And like I'm saying, these toxins that get released when you go through these transformations or you level up, as I'm saying, like for me, it was a throat chakra release. And that's where all of the toxins were focused. And so the human body had to process those all out. They literally talked about how when you're in a higher frequency and you level up and you break down those little blocks that had solidified in you of habits and fear and shame and guilt, when you break those down, there's a physical counterpart. And so, hydrate, get some exercise if you can, shower, cleanse your body, essentially, of the physical remnants of the spiritual work that you're doing. That's why it's great to sage, use oils on your body if you can, because, we live in this physical experience, this human experience that's dual nature. We have access to all of our spirit, all of God, and yet we also are responsible for our temples, this human living body with trillions of cells. And I personally have found that praying and expressing direct love to your body can help accelerate this healing and detoxification process. So there's just a little extra tip for you there at the end. Remember, fear is just a frequency. So if you have ways to get out of that frequency, use them, and then make your decisions. Don't make decisions when you're in the box. Free yourself from the box. Elevate yourself. Pray. Ask for assistance. One more thing, there's no limit to how much you can ask for assistance. God is not going to get tired of helping you. Your angels are actually wanting you to call on them more. They're sitting there like, why don't they just tag me in? Why don't they tag me in? I got this. If they're just like, hey, angels, can you help me with ... So try it. Try talking to your spirit team, your guides, your angels, God directly, the universe, whatever word you want to use. Yeshua, Jesus, Buddha. Talk to these ascended masters, these beings of light, these eternal oneness, because they're all with you. They're all supporting you, and they all want to see you succeed. They won't get tired of you asking for help, and they certainly won't get tired of providing it. Just don't forget to be appreciative. When you get through a situation, look back and say, hey, hold on, I made it through. I made it out of that. Thank you, God. Thank you, angels. You really helped me out. That recognition, that appreciation and gratitude will go even further. And it will help your human mind to understand this is real. It's all real. It took me a long time to figure it out. And I've certainly put it to the test recently. But it is. It's true. It's all real. And it's all good. All right, guys. Like, comment, share if you so feel called. If you want to see more of my stuff, feel called to. Feel free to subscribe. I've got all my services on AwakeningWithAdam.com. And of course, there's a dono link if you're not interested in any service but want to help out. Actually, all the likes help too. So, like I said, it's all good. Don't forget, God loves you. He's waiting for you to call on him, pray, ask for help with whatever's challenging you in your current life circumstance. There's nothing to be afraid of. And I love you too. All right, guys. I'll see you next time.